Hi, this is Anna from Get Light
Hello.
Healing, and this is Jared from
Bear of Wands Tarot.
Bear of
Mhm.
Wands Tarot. And we're getting together today because we're just chit chatting a little bit about ourselves, introducing ourselves, and just explaining about how we got on this journey and what we um, are doing presently.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
Jared, and how we know each other is because we are both part of the same um, tarot group, tarot study group, and we study with our teacher is Lucky Links, who has a following on
Mhm.
Facebook and on YouTube. I don't think he's on Instagram.
Mhm.
I think is he on
He
Instagram?
is. He
Yeah,
is.
and
Yeah.
he is.
His face is better.
Yeah, he's a master of all things tarot, all things Tibetan Bon,
Mhm.
what else? Playing cards, divination, dice.
Yeah.
What else has he got? Lenormand, and
Leonard Man, cosmology, all kinds of stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
and we connected, and we just want to explain a little bit about who we are. So, Jared, Bear of Wands, this is a new project for you. You have been studying tarot for a while and you've been on this journey for quite some time. Um, how did you, where's your background? How did you get started on this whole journey?
Well, this whole journey, well, obviously I'm a little bit young, so I'm kind of the baby out of everybody. So, but I've been, on the spiritual path for a long time. Really, when I was younger, I was raised in the church, in the Baptist. Baptist was how I was raised. Um, and I was really into it when I was younger. But when you become a teenager and you start rebelling and you start, if your parents are doing it, you don't want to do it. So I went hard the other direction. I was a metalhead. I was, breaking all the rules there for quite a few years. Um, Luckily, my wife straightened me out. But also, when I was really in the midst of all that, after I'd gotten out of high school and I had started to go and do my own thing, I started getting into Buddhism. And with Buddhism, that that was where I really got started on my practices. And I started doing meditation specifically. And I still to this day, I'm an advocate of meditation. I do it as pretty much every day because I believe that's where it all starts. It all starts with the self. It all starts with being mindful. It all starts with going inside and figuring it all out. But after, a few years of that, I wanted to branch out a little bit. And I'm kind of an emotional guy. I like that. I like the warm fuzzies. I like the tinglies. I like when you really get, to the heart, when you can
Mhm.
really get into that stuff. And from that, I got involved in Hindu practices, specifically with Neem Karoli Baba. Neem Karoli Baba is really, he's my guru. He's a dead old man in a blanket, but to me, he's present. And from him, I got into mantras and kirtan. Kirtan is the practice of singing mantras. It's not, it's a 20-minute song where you may say one mantra, where you may, and there's nothing special to it.
Mm.
It's just you're sitting, you're singing, and you're being mindful. But it's so incredibly powerful. And it captivated me. And, I've been doing that for quite a few years. And I started doing my own kirtan. And I write my own songs, I perform for people. And since I moved to this state, since I've been in Missouri, which is relatively new for me, I've gotten involved with some people that are allowing me to hold my own kirtan and lead people in mantra and singing and um, getting all the warm fuzzies that I like.
Mm.
So I was doing it at a metaphysical shop. And we had one night where there wasn't a big turnout. There was just a few of us, and we were hanging out. And I'm not into the energy work stuff. Not that I'm against it. I don't understand it. I don't have a frame of reference for energy work really. and sitting around, and I realized, or they told me, that they were all Reiki masters. I had like 4 Reiki masters sitting in front of me. And it, I don't know, there was something about it. I had never gotten to experience that stuff and to experience stuff from their perspective. Because even though Neem Karoli Baba is a really magical guy, he wasn't much of a teacher. Um, what he what the teachers that came from him always talked about was to be careful of the cities, be careful of the powers that you can get from your practice. Because if you've ever read one of the old spiritual texts, you hear about these crazy things that can happen in meditation, and they just arise naturally. Well, the teachers always talk about how you need to guard yourself against those, because what those do is those flame up your ego and they stop your spiritual journey. So I've always kind of been afraid of that stuff. But listening to these people, they were good. They were genuine people. They were pleasant, really. And so I must have sat there for 4 hours listening to them go back and forth. And again, I was the youngest guy in the room. All these people were, adults. I'm 28. I'm not an adult. So as they got on talking, they started talking about divination and ghosts and all this stuff. And it really stuck with me. So I spent a few days where that was like all I could think about was the divination, seeing the future, seeing into people's lives, seeing the past, whatever it may be. So after pacing around my house for a few days, I decided I'm going to go get myself a pendulum. Or no, I'm going to go get myself tarot cards. Well, I tried and I tried and I tried to get tarot cards. Every time I would go up to the shop, the metaphysical shop would be closed. I couldn't, something was blocking me from getting the tarot cards. So after getting disgruntled and cursing everything, I decided I'm going to make a pendulum, because they were talking about the weird stuff that can happen with those. So I got a display of crystals. I grabbed one, I made up my little pendulum, and I started playing around. And the question I kept asking was like, I'd have a white table and I'd go, is this table black? And it would tell me no. Touche, crystal. Okay. I went around to a bunch of different stuff. And my wife, she had missed her special time of the month, and just joking around and laughing, she's like, find out if I'm pregnant, find out if I'm pregnant. So we asked it and it said yes. We had been trying to have kids for years and years. We've been together for, I think, 8 years. Don't tell her that I don't know. I think it's 8 years.
Okay.
And we've been trying to have kids most of this time, and we couldn't have kids. So when it said yes, like we both kind of freaked out a little bit. Well, of course, a couple days later, she got a test. Turned out she was pregnant. Wow. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, I'm going to buy tarot cards. I have to figure this stuff out, because I told everybody I knew I have a magic fortune telling rock. You have to check this thing out. It tells the future. So I went out and I got the tarot cards, and it was like a couple weeks, and all of a sudden I was diving into people's lives that I had never met. I didn't know these people. Literally all I knew was their name on Facebook. We hadn't had a conversation. The third thing that we had, like the third line of the text, was their question. And I was diving into people's lives, and it blew my mind. But at the same time, what I had been hearing for years was sitting in the back of my head. You need to be careful of this. Cities they're not good for the spiritual journey. They will block you. They will, whatever it may be. So I got real tore up about it. I really did. And, when I would meditate, I would ask Baba, like, tell me what I'm supposed to do about this. Because I'm helping people. I am helping people fix their lives. What do I do with that? And I was in meditation one time, and of course, asking Baba again, tell me something. And clear as a bell, I heard, you have done work for many lifetimes. This lifetime, you get to understand how it works. I'm into Hinduism and Buddhism, but I try and not 100% say that reincarnation is real or heaven is real or any of this stuff, because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that it is real. And so whenever people talk about past lives and stuff, I get real kind of standoffish. I don't like getting into that, because I personally am not sure about it.
Right.
So when voice came forward, it was extra powerful because I wouldn't say that. I'm too skittish of talking about reincarnation. So after that happened, okay, okay, if that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it is. And since then, I've been head first. I love it. The opportunity to help people.
Mm.
Like it's what every little Buddhist wants to do. You want to end suffering. And recently, well, before I started doing the tarot business, I had a bunch of people telling me that no, you need to do this. You need to really be doing this for people.
Mm.
And so I started, and now business is slow, but people love my memes, so that's something.
Yes, I do. I do enjoy your memes. It's funny. Yeah.
But so that's kind of how I ended up here, at least.
Yeah. I think it really speaks volumes when you come to something, not only with, enthusiasm and joy, but like with that innate sense of purpose, but also with
Mhm.
the genuine desire to help another person, and I get what he's saying, to be very, it is a thin line. You want to increase your power, you want to become more impactful and open up,
Mhm.
but that's one of the that's one of the caveats to being human, is that we have that ego, or we have that
Mhm.
uh, inclination in our ego to kind of get a little carried away, and to think that if you get carried away with your powers and think you're far more important or omnipotent than you really are. So I think as long as you focus on, with the intention of, I want to increase my power in order to be more impactful to another, to play from
Yes.
that point of service to others rather than service to self. I think you'll always be on the right side, so to
Yeah.
speak. Um,
I hope so.
yeah, yeah. But and always to, you have this very open, sunny personality to yourself, and always with a sense of humor. Because some of the things, and we had spoken about this, some of the things that get revealed in cards are not comfortable. They're not pretty. Hmm, they're not nice. And I always, I'm learning how to navigate that now, about being able. How do you say? How do you reveal, or how do you advise somebody um,
Hmm.
when you see abuse there?
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
see that kind of a thing. Um,
Hmm.
but I think it's one of our duties, is not to just deliver the message and to deliver the
Hmm.
information, and not be
Hmm.
attached to the responsibility of whether or not they follow it, how they're going to take it, to kind of just deliver it in the most um, efficient, kind, impactful way that you can, and then leave it there. Leave it
Yeah.
there, because
Yeah.
then you did your job.
Because frankly, and this may sound harsh, it's not my responsibility to fix your life.
Oh
It is
no,
my responsibility to give you the tools that you need. And beyond that,
that's
it's
what
on you. There's
that's why
nothing.
they call it free will. That's why you call it free will. And then you cannot get then their ego does then play, because now you're trying to manipulate the outcome, so that so you can say that you were right. you know Whether or
Hmm.
not you were right or not is
Yeah.
immaterial. You're just,
Yeah.
you're being this conduit. You're tapping into the unconscious, the subconscious, to deliver the message to deliver whatever they need to know, and then it's entirely on to them, because they could turn around and say, even though it's the absolute truth, they could say, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. Oh, what are you gonna like? Okay, all right then I guess we're done. Bye.
All right, Anne. So how about you? Tell us what got you into all this. What got you to where you are?
Well, I was going to say that I've been hearing that voice in my head since I was about 3. And
Yeah.
I and I have told this story to my family, but I don't know how many of them believe me. And I kept myself in the closet for a very long time, and just really coming out now at this stage of my life and saying, I don't care as much as I used to. It's a process. I'm a Capricorn. It's a process, but and I know that some of my relatives have me on mute on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever. So, but that's all right, because this is my truth, and this is what I came here for. This is why I incarnated. This is why I'm here at this time. That I would hear voices, and I came from an Irish Catholic, a very Catholic upbringing, and I was always fascinated with saints, the lives of saints, and angels.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but can we pause this for just a second?
Yes.
I have to go.
Okay.
You're talking about
so I've always had that that want or that need to connect to higher beings, or not from this world, or however you want to describe it. And I have always had this ability of I have clairsentience, but claircognizance, which means that I just know certain things. I know what I know. I don't know why I know. Are we reading palms? Because
no,
I wish I could. I don't know how
make
to
sure it
read
doesn't die on you. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. So yeah, but I knew these things, and I didn't know why I knew them, but I didn't know the name of what that was about. It was just, I just thought everybody just knew things. And the same thing about feeling things in your body. I just thought everybody felt that way too, but apparently they don't. So it wasn't until I was about your age that I started to get onto Journey Found. And it's funny, is just one thing leads you to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's just a matter of just not really questioning it, just following it and seeing where it goes. And my first book that I chose was, I think it was The Spirit Book by Alan Kardec. I don't even have it anymore. I don't even know where it is.
Yeah.
That was the first book I ever got about that, other than my saint books. And the woman had said, you're going to have, what did she say? You're going to get there quicker than you realize, or something to that effect. But that led me to another book and another book. And then I was doing Reiki 1, and then studying for Reiki 2 led me to IET, which is what I primarily do, which is integrated energy therapy, which was created by this man called Stephen Thayer from Woodstock, New York. He was an engineer from Bell Labs, and he started to hear Archangel Ariel. And he designed this system with attunements, very similar to Reiki, how Reiki does attunements, which it opens up your energy channels. It makes you a channel for this energy to kind of funnel in and out your palms, so that you can flood another person's energy system, either to rebalance it, to clear it, to clear out blocks. Because with IET, anything that's ever happened to you in this physical human life, good, bad, and indifferent, gets imprinted
Mhm.
right down to a cellular level, where you can hold emotions. Negative ones is what we're talking about, and they can just impede
Mhm.
the chi, the flow of the energy flow, and keeping you in harmony, keeping you in balance, keeping you feeling good, keeping you from feeling depressed or anxious, not letting helping you to let go of resentments and anger. And it does play very much into, Chinese medicine and where you hold those emotions. For example, the liver, where you would hold
Mhm.
anger. Gallbladder would be where you hold resentment. And actually, me working with the system for a long time now, and I'm going to say 15 years. I'm not even sure. I'd have to do the math. But I've also found another place where we hold in our spleen, where we hold injustice, feeling of that wasn't fair, but it's not fair, that kind of a
Yeah.
thing. Fear would be in your kidneys. When I was practicing, when we were doing our IET work, I think it was IET 2, because we were pulling out. So you flood the system with the energy, say for, which would be the throat, which would be where you express yourself, where you speak your truth, where you create,
Mhm.
you express your creativity in the world, but also how you find your voice, speak up for yourself, speaking up for yourself, which was a big thing, which was what I wasn't doing back then. So
Mhm.
as the student was pulling out from my throat, I actually could see this huge, about that big, black blobby thing that had mass and weight, and I could literally feel it being pulled out, and I was being lifted off the bed. Never
Yeah.
experienced anything like that in my life. And
Mhm.
like I was saying, when I'm training for these things, I have a scientific background, so I try to hold a healthy amount of skepticism, but be open at the
Yeah.
same time, which I think everybody should question everything. But
Mhm.
I felt it through my own firsthand experience. And as she was pulling it out, tears are coming to my eyes, and I'm fighting within myself because I didn't want to cry in front of these strangers. And I knew as she's pulling this thing out, there was a floodgate that it was like pulling a cork out, and then the tears flooded. I was flooded with tears, but at the same sense, it was a monumental release. And after
Mhm.
that point, I started to create. I started to create jewelry. I started to stand up and speak up for myself. When I was getting bullied at
Mhm.
home, I would speak up for myself, and I found my voice. And it was a process, but that's where it started. And I was sold after that. So I became a master, Reiki master. I became an IET master, I trained in Jin Shin Do, Thai massage, and then I would
Mhm.
incorporate all these things and create it and make it my own, which is what I do now. So I've
Mhm.
kind of shelved things that
Mhm.
I don't always pull out all the time, because I find other things. I'm constantly picking up new techniques or powers or whatever it is that I just find more effective. It just does
Mhm.
the job more efficiently, more impactfully. You know, and I can tailor it to a particular person.
Yeah.
And I never really know what I'm getting, like on the table. So say
Yeah.
you came in and you were feeling an awful lot of anxiety. Well, by the time I
Mhm.
get into your energy field and kind of, um, and I never want to say diagnose, but I dowse, I use a pendulum. It might be
Okay.
actually tied to, and most likely it's probably tied to a fear. And it could be, tied to responsibilities and fear or not being able to trust. So I'll see where it all kind of connects, and we'll make a story.
Hmm.
Um, I will bring in sound. Sound frequencies are very important for breaking up any kind of blocks in the energetic field. We have this electromagnetic field that feeds our physical body, and those are layers, and they go out from
Right.
here back to source. So
Yeah.
when I'm clearing out the IET, I'm clearing out through the physical, the emotional, the mental, and then the karmic layer, which very well could be, say, ancestral imprints that you came in. So say, I'll take
Hmm.
for example, Irish. I've found like Irish American kids, especially if they're first generation, they come with a lot of garbage that their parents had, and it's usually this program of good enough for you. Like, who are you to want better? This was good enough for me. It should be good enough for you, and keeping you small.
Yeah.
And we don't have to play by that program here. And then there's a lot of guilt that's involved, and that's usually the Irish Catholic shit too. That's, excuse me, that's that's on there, and that's infused in there too.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
pulling through a lot of stuff. I'm also working with this new program now. It's called SRT, which is Soul Release Therapy. Um,
Hmm.
and for example, I had a client the other day where this, and I didn't think that this was possible, but I need to do a little bit more research, where she took on the karma of another family member out of love for them, but it's
Hmm.
misguided. And that other family member thought that they would escape their karma if
Hmm.
somebody else paid it off for them. Even though it was with good
Hmm.
intentions, it can't be
Hmm.
done. But because of free will, she was allowed to do that. However,
Yeah.
their guides always have to kind of inject another, I want to say plan B, but an alternative. Like, well, okay, well, if you're going to agree to take this on, which we don't really agree to that, you're going to get something good out of it. So there's going to be a silver lining. So we worked on that in
Okay.
that
Yeah.
program, and I told her about that program and said, you can now, because she would say, I feel guilty and I don't know why. I always feel
Yeah.
guilty about when I want to do what I want to do, and it
Yeah.
was reinforced with the parent, with the family situation that she had. But
Hmm.
going back to the root of where she had this programming, which was between, in the bardo, the bardo, between lives,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
That's where she
Yep.
made the agreement, in the bardo.
Really.
Yeah. And so by going
Yeah.
back there and pulling it out root, they call it root, seed, and stem, she
Hmm.
can let that go, and she can now live her life without that unnecessary feeling of, I'm like, you have nothing, literally nothing to feel guilty for. That guilt was not yours to take. That was not yours to take.
Hmm.
You took that because of
Hmm.
the person that you are. You shouldn't have, but you did.
Yeah.
But now you can let it go.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of funny that it's kind of funny you were talking about making a deal in the bardo, because I just did a reading the other day. I work in human services, so I take care of people, and one of my gentlemen is the slowest moving person I have ever met, and it is quite aggravating. And
physically slow.
I asked my cards where it comes from. Huh?
Physically slow.
Well, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
I asked my cards where it's coming from, and that was what it told me. They literally said that it was before this life, in between lives, he made a deal because his last one was so hard and rough. This one was going to be about rest. So he made a deal in the
Wow.
bardo to have rest in this life. It did not answer my question, and he's still slow, so that aggravated me. But
Yeah, but at
yeah.
least you got that information, and that helped me because when I was dowsing and when I was trying to glean the information, because I'll tap in before
Mhm.
somebody comes to see me, I tap in about an hour before to kind of get as
Mhm.
much information and kind of, but then we have a conversation um, about, what's on their mind, what they're struggling with, or what they want help with, or what they want to increase or decrease or release or magnify or whatever it may be. And then I do the energy work. And then afterwards, we will have another conversation. And I usually pull cards at that point in time. Sometimes I pull them before to
Mm.
kind of give me a layout of like, okay, what are we dealing with? What is this? What's really going on? That kind of a thing. And then afterwards
Yeah, yeah.
I'll pull for guidance. So we're
Mhm.
having conversations usually the whole time, but in order to keep them in a more healthy frame of mind, or to stay and not be in fear, what would they need to know? How would they go about it? What would be the guidance? What to keep in mind? That kind of a thing.
Mhm.
um but that helps me with the bardo, because that's I didn't think that that was possible. However,
Yeah.
I have heard that entities will show you a false some entities will show in the bardo will show you a false life review to convince you
Mm.
that you did something horrific, to
Mhm.
purposely take their karma so that you burn it off here. Meanwhile, you're a good person and life is really, really tough on you. And it's like, what did I do to deserve this kind of a thing? You did nothing.
Yeah,
You got
something was hungry.
bamboozled.
Something was hungry. Mhm. All righty. So, are we creeping up on our half an hour?
Let me see where we
I
are.
think you got the time over there.
I don't know what it is. But anyway, so if anybody
Okay.
wanted to reach out to you for a reading,
Mm.
especially during these times of weirdness, uncertainty, and madness, how can they reach you?
Well, if someone wants a reading, they can direct message me on either Instagram or Facebook. My Facebook is Bear of Wands Tarot, and my Instagram is at bear.of.wands.tarot. And even if you're not interested in a reading, go ahead and follow me. Like we said, I put up funny pictures, so it's nice. And how about you?
I'm a fan.
How does someone schedule a healing session with you?
All right. So usually I'm doing them in person, and I can do them distant. And I've done them globally distant. But right now, because of the whole situation, um, sessions will be distant. They'll be an hour and a half. And like I said, I connect in and I get information before we start, and we talk after we start, and we get a card reading as well. Um, the fee is $85 for as long as this. It's usually 130, and it'll be 85 as long as this situation lasts. But if you are out of work and or money is really tight, and I know for a lot of people it is, and you really need a session, and that is beyond your means, please private message me, contact me through Facebook, which is Get Light Healing. GetLightHealing.com is my website. I'm also on Instagram, Get Light Healing. Reach out to me any which way and let me know that you're interested, and we'll work something out monetarily, because it's more important for people to get right now than anything else,
Mhm.
honestly. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. All
so
righty.
it
Well,
was
it was wonderful
great.
talking to you.
Yes, and we will talk again soon.
Absolutely. Bye.
Sounds good. Bye.